The understandings in terms of Western science that this intelligent field exists in late 1990s, early 2000s is when the experiments actually confirmed what Max Planck in 1944 stated. The father of quantum physics, Max Planck, actually said that the matter that we see in our world doesn't exist. It says the stuff we're made out of doesn't even exist, and the world that we see doesn't exist the way we believe it does. What he said was what we see as matter is here because of the existence of what he called a conscious and intelligent mind. And these are his precise words. And he followed that statement by saying that underlying this mind is the matrix of all matter. And this is the coin he termed in 1944. Of course, the movie series was based on the studies that came afterward, but it's actually been around since the mid-20th century. So this field, the matrix, or the divine matrix as it now is being called, is recognized as the field of intelligent, non-conventional energy. It doesn't work the way electricity or broadcast energy works. And perhaps that's one of the reasons it's taken so long for science to catch up with the fact that this is there, because our equipment isn't built to detect this kind of energy. On the one hand, the other hand, these ancient indigenous cultures, they detected it through the equipment of their bodies. They understood how to sense and feel and work and move in this field. So for me, I was trained as a scientist. And in my training, there was never an allowance for the possibility this field could exist. As a matter of fact, in the last 100 years, science has missed the mark twice in terms of their explanation, the story that science gives of how our world works. And we're now paying the price for where science got it wrong, essentially. And it's coming full circle. It's being corrected. But the first place that this happened was with the belief that the space between things is empty. And now we know that nothing could be further from the truth. There's a lot going on in what we always thought was empty space. But from the experiments that were performed in 1887, very famous Michelson-Morley experiments, to detect whether or not this field was there, when those experiments were interpreted as proving that the field wasn't there, over 100 years ago. From that point forward, our science has been based in the belief that everything is separate from everything else. What happens in one place doesn't have any effect on anything else. And that what happens in this lifetime has nothing to do with any other lifetimes. And when we leave our bodies, there's nothing for our souls to travel into. And this is going to be important as we talk about some of the implications of our time in history and where we're going. So this is the first principle where they got it wrong. And the second was that science, Western science, has believed firmly that the experiences that we have inside of our bodies, our thoughts, feelings, emotions, beliefs, our prayers, our affirmations, in here have no effect on the world beyond our bodies. And now we know that these two assumptions are flat wrong. There is something in the nothing, and we do have the ability through our hearts, what is called coherent heart-based emotion, to create the fields in our bodies, the fields of our beliefs, of our thought, feelings, and emotions that extend beyond our bodies into the divine matrix. So when people ask, what is the divine matrix? The way to answer that, it is the container for the entire universe. As far as scientists understand right now, everything that happens in this universe and in the higher dimensions of this universe are all within the context of this field, number one. Number two, that the divine matrix is a bridge between our inner and our outer worlds. It's the conduit that allows our prayers and our good wishes for one another to move from our hearts into this field and be disseminated and distributed in the field in ways that we're only beginning to understand, in ways that appear to defy the laws of physics as we understand them today. And that's exciting. And number three, this field appears to be a mirror in that the quantum soup of all possibilities, if you will, that exists as this field will mirror back to us. It's like a large projection screen that's everywhere all the time. It will mirror back to us what we claim to be true in our heartfelt beliefs, not what we speak as our truth, rather what we truly feel is the reality of the way our lives work, our relationships, the way our worlds work. What we hold in our hearts is our truth. This field will mirror it back, and where this gets really interesting is sometimes those truths that we hold are unconscious truths, and we're not even aware of what it is that we truly believe. We know what we like to think we believe, but what we truly believe in our hearts sometimes is masked even to us. And it is through the wisdom of recognizing what the world brings to us in our everyday lives, our relationships, our abundance, our health, our romance or lack thereof, all of those things. Those are all mirrors, and the mirrors don't lie. They're mirrors in this divine matrix showing us our true beliefs, what we claim to be true of ourselves and the world, our limits and our capabilities. This field, the divine matrix, of the many ways that scientists now describe the field, and what makes it so significant in our lives, is the fact that number one, through this field, all matter appears to be connected. And the word that science is using for this connection now is called entanglement. What entanglement suggests is that when something happens in one place in this field, in the divine matrix, it can be in another room next to us, it can be halfway around the world, that the effects of that something can be felt almost everywhere simultaneously. So let me just describe what I mean by that a little bit. There was a very famous experiment that was done in 1997, made the cover of the scientific journals, but it never made mainstream public media. And I think here's the reason why. It sounded like a very technical experiment. What scientists did at the University of Geneva was they took a particle of the stuff our world is made of. It's called a photon, a little packet of light, particle of light, if you will. And they wanted two identical particles. So they took this one photon and they broke it into two, so both pieces had the same properties. And they had a specialized device where they could fire these in opposite directions at the same time, 7 miles for one particle in one direction, 7 miles in the other direction. When they reach their destinations, they're now 14 miles apart. They're using fiber optic cables to do this. And once those particles are at their destination, they can begin the experiments. And what they found was whatever they would do to one particle, in a moment in time, the other one acted like it just had the experience faster than it could have if this one were transmitting the information to the other one. Sometimes this one would act like it was having the experience before this one even finished its experience. They said they were tickling or disturbing the particles. They would change the charge or change the spin rate or force the particle to go take path A or path B. But whatever they were doing over here, this particle always had the identical experience, as if they were still connected even though they were physically separate. And the reason this experiment is so important is it is now demonstrating to the scientific mind what the ancient indigenous traditions have always said, and that is once matter is physically connected, even though it may become separate and distant from where it was originally, it's always linked energetically. Always linked energetically. And here's why that's important.